Thank you. Richard Fuller.
Secretary of State, thank you, Chair. Seriously, yesterday you said it's not, quote, the right thing for taxpayers' money to be injected into companies that have been badly run. Were there certain characteristics in this particular context of being badly run that you had in mind?
I'm not going to name names or finger the blame. All I'm saying is that if you look at the energy supplier market, you've got lots and lots of players coming in and out of the market. As I've said repeatedly, typically at this time of year, you'd see between 5 and 8 companies exit the market. And some of those companies exiting the market have only been in the market for maybe a year and a half sometimes. So what I don't want to do is to put taxpayers' money to companies which have come into the market only to exit it after a year. I don't think that's responsible.
We can trust you to be vigilant in the protection of taxpayers'
Absolutely
money.
vigilant, I've said that. But I also have said, and I've spoken to a lot of small suppliers, I don't want this committee or anyone else to think that small suppliers equal badly run and large suppliers equal well run. There's a whole mix of, large companies can be badly run, small companies can be brilliantly run. And actually, as it happens in this market, a lot of the innovation, a lot of the dynamism has been provided by smaller suppliers.
In the earlier panel, we talked a little bit about the role of hedging and the policies of hedging, not the hedging markets, between companies, and perhaps some consideration that there should be greater requirements for hedging on companies, but that would have an effect potentially on competition. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think that's a really fair point, because clearly if you're going to have large hedging requirements, that requires upfront capital, it requires collateral. And of course, if you're a smaller business, your ability to do that is more limited. But I think that in any responsible business, you have to have some risk mitigation element, and clearly in this market, hedging is a key part of that.
There's been much speculation in the press about potential ways the government could intervene if it wished to. I'm not necessarily going to put you on the spot now to ask you, have you made a decision?
No, I'm here for.
May I put you on the spot, Secretary, saying, have you decided which of the approaches would be your preference?
So we're talking about, so there are a couple of principles, a number of principles that we've established. The first is that the consumer experience has to be as smooth as possible. And second, consumers have to be protected from exorbitant prices. And within that, we have to protect vulnerable consumers. Those are the top priorities. In terms of ongoing support, the other thing I want to stress is that the industry needs to look to itself for solutions in the first instance. What government does is, in extreme situations, it can look at measures to deal with those extreme situations. But in the first instance, the industry has to look to itself. And as you said at the beginning of your question, where I stand in these issues. I do not believe that it is responsible government to put taxpayers' money to companies that have run. So that means that I don't think we should be rewarding failure.
I don't think you quite told us which of the options you were preferring.
Well, I'm not going. You haven't told me what the options are. I don't know what you know.
There's only what I read in the press. Only what I read in the press, Secretary. But there are options of a bad bank approach, or about subsidising the transfer of customers through a temporary period, or having Ofgem take on a more significant role.
So I think, and I need to stress this, I think the solar process and the SAR process, which hasn't been tested yet, I think that they are robust. As Jonathan Brearley said throughout the COVID process, all through COVID, I was the energy minister and I was in regular contact with Jonathan up to 2 or 3 times a week discussing this very situation, because at the time we felt that there would be a real challenge to energy companies, which, thank God, didn't happen. The system, the companies were more robust than perhaps many of us anticipated in March last year. And I think that the solar process and the SAR process are robust. I want them to be tested. I don't think we need to go beyond them, so as far as I can see. But we're clearly also planning for other contingencies, and that's what responsible government does.
Final question from me, Secretary of State, and it goes to this issue of the responsibility of the boards and investors of companies at the moment. They're going through difficult times. And in the earlier panel, the representative of the industry made a comment that for some companies, there's no cash down the back of the sofa. And you've just said that you feel it's important for companies to step up themselves first before the taxpayers. What's the message you would send to the directors of those companies at this stage about where they should be looking first to get the
I think they should look to their own resources and look at their own business models and their own management, because it cannot be right for companies that have entered the market recently and then now essentially in difficult times stretching out a hand for taxpayers' money. I don't think that's right. And I would ask and I am asking the industry to look to itself to support itself. I think it can do that. I think there's some very good companies out there. And also I feel that the structures that we have now are robust. So you will have seen reports that some of the industry players are saying we should remove the price cap. I've absolutely rebuffed that. I said the price cap is here to stay. We're not moving it, and they have to work within that context. And Mr. Fuller, what really surprises me is that I know companies who went into the market when they knew there was a price cap, and now they're complaining about the price cap. Okay. So it's a very odd situation if you're starting a business to go in with your eyes open and then complain about a key feature which was there when you entered the market.